Am I the jerk for not letting my future mother-in-law go dress shopping with me? So a little bit of backstory. I am a 26-year-old female. My fiancé is a 27-year-old male. My mother-in-law, whom I'll call Susan, and my aunt on my mom's side, whom I'll call Tina, are also part of the story. My mother passed away when I was 13 years old, and I got really close to my mom's sister, Tina, after my mom died. When I got engaged, I asked my aunt to be the honorary mother of the bride for my wedding. I really wanted her to be involved in the wedding somehow, and I felt her being the honorary mother of the bride was perfect. Then she offered to pay for my dress. My aunt lives in a different state, let's say New Mexico. She said, "Would you mind coming down to where I live? It would be a little bit more convenient for me and we can go dress shopping. I'll pay for your trip, and we can have a nice little vacation out of it." I said sure because she's offering to pay for my dress. However, my future mother-in-law is mad that I'm going dress shopping with my aunt and not involving her in the traditional mother of the bride dress shopping experience. I am kind of in a rock and a hard place because my aunt is offering to pay for the dress, and I feel obligated to go where she asked me to go. Additionally, I wanted my aunt and my future mother-in-law to wear the same color dress for the wedding, so they both stand out as the mother of the groom and the mother of the bride. I know my aunt is not my mom, but she's like a mother figure to me. My mother-in-law is mad and says my aunt is not related to her, and she shouldn't be matching with a complete stranger. She says no one ever does that for the wedding pictures. My mother-in-law is also mad because I suggested that we tell people what to wear to the wedding so that everyone kind of matches the theme and no one stands out who is not supposed to. I offered to create a color palette for the wedding that matches our theme, and she told me that was stupid. She said you don't tell people what to wear to a wedding. I just want to know if I am wrong. The dress situation is kind of out of my control, but is it common for the mothers of the groom and bride to match for the wedding? Also, is it normal to have people match the color scheme of the wedding so no one really stands out? You did nothing wrong here, going dress shopping with your aunt. It's not traditional for the future mother-in-law to go dress shopping for a wedding dress. While it's okay to set a dress code like black tie or summer casual, it's pretty obnoxious to dictate specific colors to your guests. Focus on the more important aspects of your wedding and don't stress too much about coordinating outfits. Am I the jerk for finally snapping at my parent and now they barely interact with me? I, a 21-year-old, and my mother, a 53-year-old woman, finally had a big argument a few days ago. I'll give some background for why I snapped as well. Since I was younger and she got a job, I felt as if she had grown to be controlling and negative around me constantly. She had always compared me to other kids around me, saying I should be outgoing and do better in school. This was ironic, given I played sports and had decent friend groups. She would never let me go out to see them, saying that they hung out in strange places when it was just the park. She would see my grades, and even if I tried my best, she would critique me, saying how some other kid could do better since he or she took it too. She would never ask me how my day was or discuss anything fun with me without then bringing up something she had to judge me on. I was hoping when I left for college she would calm down, but sadly she did not. She does it even more, and I am going to be the first generation to graduate, but she gets on me about my grades, even though she knows I try my best and have multiple mental issues such as depression and ADHD. It all came to a head a few days ago. I had slept in until 2:00 p.m. because I finally was able to catch up on my sleep, and my dad had left for a week-long trip. She always uses times when my dad is away to lay into me. She had woken me up and followed me all the way to the kitchen, berating me about my lifestyle and why she never gets to talk to me like my dad and I talk. This is ironic coming from someone who criticized my interests such as anime and gaming, saying they are childish and remind her of her family, who likes them and is nowhere in life. I told her, "At least I'm graduating unlike you did," and she said, "This is why I don't like to talk with you. You are entitled." I left to try to defuse the situation, but she followed me. This is where I might be the bad guy. She asked me when I had become someone she can't recognize, and I asked her, "When did you become a bitch and not realize how you treat me?" She became quiet and said, "Really?" When I said yes, she left the room. Ever since then, she only speaks to me to let me know something important and never says, "I love you" anymore. This may not seem like much, but my family always says, "I love you, sweet dreams before bed." It's just a habit. I felt so bad with her for so long that I just let it out that night, and now I feel guilty, and I don't know why. Is it because I wanted her to apologize? To ask me to elaborate so we could talk it out? I don't know. Or is it more simple? Am I the asshole? You did nothing wrong here. Your mom has been criticizing you your entire life, and when you finally criticize her back, she can't handle it. This is classic behavior of someone who can dish it out, but can't take it. Maybe she'll come around and change her behavior, but don't feel guilty for standing up for yourself. Am I the jerk for canceling plans with my partner after they didn't confirm for 4 hours? My boyfriend, who is also 30 years old, and I have been in a strained place for the last few months with a lot of petty arguments and insensitive behavior. We've spoken almost every day, but we haven't actually seen each other in probably over a month. I complained to him about always making plans and expressed that I wanted him to make more of an effort to initiate plans. Unfortunately, the day he spontaneously decided to make a plan, I took an extra shift at work. He got mad that I wasn't readily available and said he would never do it again. This felt unreasonable to me, but a friend said that he was valid in his anger since I was the one complaining initially and didn't follow through. I didn't agree as the plans were out of the blue, and I accepted the shift before I even knew about them. I decided to make plans to meet up, but he shot me down, saying he was working or busy. He never offered an alternate time. So, I said I would try to plan something for a different day. I told him to be free for Wednesday to hang out. He said it would depend on what we were doing, which pissed me off a bit because, to me, it shouldn't really matter. Would he not see me because I didn't plan something to his liking? Anyway, I messaged him that it would be lunch and a movie. I even threw in a surprise spa session and he said, okay, that's fine. The day before, I called to confirm we were still good to go. I called him multiple times, and when he finally answered, you could hear that he was drinking. It was like 5:30 on Tuesday. He rushed me off the phone as he was with his friends. I messaged him, asking if we were still good for tomorrow and if we should reschedule. I didn't want to go anywhere with him if he had a hangover, as he has a habit of drinking to excess. I never got an answer. I messaged him every hour to check if he was okay. I called him 3 hours later, 3 times, and on the 3rd time he finally answered, sounding annoyed. I asked him what his problem was. He said he never had his phone with him. I asked again if we were good for tomorrow, and his response was, what's happening tomorrow? I was mad and said to forget the whole thing. If hanging out wasn't important to him, I wasn't going to press the subject. I canceled everything and decided to take an extra shift at work. He's now claiming that when he asked, what's happening tomorrow, he was asking me to confirm plans and time. He said he was clearly busy and couldn't answer his phone, and my trying to cancel so abruptly means that I never wanted to hang out with him to begin with. He's calling me the asshole for canceling our plans because I didn't get a response from him. It's worth noting that I didn't get any response from him until an hour after I had canceled the plans. So, am I the asshole because I was too ready to cancel the plans? If you haven't seen each other in over a month and he isn't making any real effort, it might be time to reassess the relationship. It could either be a soured relationship, or maybe it wasn't really one at all to him. Just break up and find someone who is as interested in you as you are in them. Life's too short to waste time on someone who doesn't prioritize you. Am I the jerk for telling my roommate I don't want her dad's dog to stay with us permanently? I will try to keep this as short as possible, but there are many details in this story. I, female 25 years old, have 2 roommates, Doreen, female 23 years old, and Matt, male 25 years old, who are dating. We moved out together after Doreen and her father had a dramatic fallout last December. We agreed on a set of rules where nothing would be decided unless we all discussed and agreed on the subject. Lately, Doreen has been making decisions on her own without discussing anything with anyone in the house. Because she and Matt are dating, he automatically agrees to make her happy. None of these decisions were my hill to die on. The most recent decision was to take her father's dog under her care since her dad confessed that he no longer wants to take care of her. The dog has not been taken care of properly for years and has not been bathed in almost a year. Her dad works night shifts and sleeps during the day, so he does not pay attention to the dog and claims she gets into too much trouble, which is virtually impossible. The dog is 9 to 10 years old. She is morbidly obese, has trouble breathing, and smells absolutely rancid even after Doreen gave her a bath. She bites anyone that tries to give her love. She is in the way 90% of the time, often laying in random places that make it difficult to open certain drawers. She can barely walk. I have told Doreen in the past that I do not mind the dog staying with us for a week at a time, but do not want the dog here permanently because I physically cannot be around the dog without being repulsed and annoyed when she is in the way. Doreen agreed that we would have to have an extensive conversation about the dog staying permanently before making any decisions, so I had nothing to worry about. A few days ago, her dad was supposed to come back for the dog, so I went out to give them space, only to come back to the dog still being here. I asked her why, and she simply said, "You're almost never here anyways. What's the big deal? I work long hours at a restaurant, whereas she works from home." I was speechless and simply left the room, pissed. I have not talked to Matt or Doreen since and am seething every second because the house smells terrible all the time, and she clearly sees nothing wrong with making such a huge decision without talking about it first. We now have 2 dogs and a cat in the house, which I did not agree to. Please tell me if I am the one at fault in this situation. I do not know if I am wrong because I understand that the dog is dying, but her father needs to take responsibility for once in his life, instead of throwing an extra pet on us. You are not in the wrong here. You should have a say in what your living environment consists of, especially when it's a major house decision like getting a pet. Living with a couple can make things tricky because you'll often lose the vote, so thinking about alternative living arrangements might be a good long-term solution. The dog might not be the end of it, and it's worth checking if your landlord has a policy on pets. Am I the jerk? My best friend booked her own hen do after months of me planning it. I have been best friends with this person for 24 years, and last year she announced she was getting married. She hadn't really spoken much about the wedding, and when all the bridesmaids met up, it seemed like one of them was already planning everything. I just assumed I was another bridesmaid, which is fine. Then I got a text basically saying, "Oh, you're maid of honor by the way," on a random day. I was a bit disappointed she didn't ask, and just assumed, and didn't really make it seem special, but it's her wedding and not mine. Now, what's really upset me is the hen-do. She wanted to spend 2 nights in central London with all her bridesmaids in a nice Airbnb, and everyone's budget was £100 sterling each for 2 nights. This is impossible, right? Anyway, I spent hours, days, and months looking for something suitable. I even tried to convince them that we wouldn't find somewhere suitable for that price, but maybe more around the £150 sterling mark. They still didn't want to budge. She called me up the other day and told me that's still what she wanted to do, but maybe we'll try another city. I was like, okay, I'll try and find somewhere else. That's not a problem. I was still struggling as it's late in the year and her hen due date was very specific, making it difficult. I posted a place in the group chat and said, "Look, I know it's more expensive, but it's literally impossible to find something. What do you girls think?" She then basically starts gaslighting me and making me feel like this was my choice, and she's happy to do whatever. So I was like, right, okay, no one's happy. I'll keep looking. I then wake up to a text in the morning saying, "Hi girls, I've booked a hotel for the hen-do." She discussed it with another bridesmaid instead of the maid of honor who spent so much time trying to find her specifications. If she wanted me to find a hotel, I could have done this months ago instead of going on a wild goose chase trying to find something she asked for. We're both grown adults in our late 20s. I have had a really awful year so far and haven't had a lot of time for myself mentally. It's really frustrated me regarding her sheer lack of awareness for anyone but herself. I haven't spoken to her since and she hasn't spoken to me, but I'm so angry at the disrespect. What do I do next? Just put it aside because it's not about me, or say you shouldn't treat someone like this? I think you are not in the wrong here. Your feelings are perfectly valid. Some people have a hard time with their weddings and the stress. I'd say let it go for now and talk to her about it after the wedding. There's nothing wrong with explaining, nicely, that you felt like your effort wasn't really appreciated or acknowledged. Am I the jerk for kicking my sister out of my house for calling my husband controlling? Hi all. This situation is quite fresh, having happened only a few hours ago, so I'm still quite emotional about it. I was told by my sister that my husband is controlling, and I think she is delusional and honestly, maybe even jealous. My husband and I have a more traditional marriage. He is the provider, and I stay home with the children and tend to the home. It is not uncommon in our culture, Pakistani, and I like how our home is set up. My husband is also very helpful. I know he is tired after work, so I do not ask him to do much on weekdays. Most of the time, he will play with the kids, and I will clean up after we eat. On weekends, we do everything together. We do the laundry, cooking, and cleaning. I am very lucky to have a hard-working husband who makes enough so I do not have to work. My sister, on the other hand, is single. That is fine. Our parents never pressured us to marry. We were lucky in that sense, as culturally it is quite common for families to pressure young girls to marry. She seemed happy and independent, but she has been looking for a husband, and since then, she has been criticizing my relationship with my husband. She calls him lazy and unhelpful. This afternoon, she came to our house and started talking about how he is controlling. She said he must not let me work because he is scared that I will become smart and independent. She told me I worked so hard to get a law degree and because of him, I did not put it to good use. She said what we have is not love, and that I am just naive. I have told her time and again that I do not appreciate how she speaks about him, and that he is not unhelpful because he provides for his family. He is not controlling. I knew before I even married him that I would stay home if I ever had children. And we have 4 children. We love each other regularly. I understand how someone from the outside might be concerned, but she knows our relationship. I have never once expressed any interest in going back to work, nor have I ever complained about how our home is run. I just find her to be disrespectful and rude to my husband and me. I told her if she continued to talk about my husband like that, she would no longer be welcome in our home. She called me an ungrateful person and said she is just looking out for me. Now my husband is back from work and he has some clue as to what has been happening, but I did not tell him what she said today. I do not want him to have to hear those things when he is an amazing father and an even better husband. So, am I the asshole for kicking my sister out after she called my husband controlling? My husband is normally my moral compass, but since he does not know what happened, I thought I would type it out here. I do not think I am in the wrong, but maybe I was being too harsh. She does seem stressed trying to find a husband, so maybe this was just her way of letting that stress out. But it still would not be fair to target my husband, because she is going through a hard time. You did nothing wrong here. It's pretty insulting that she assumes you have no agency just because you've chosen to stay at home with your children. She's calling you naive and acting like you can't make your own choices. The way she speaks to you is unacceptable. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.